It was 1st April 1976 when college dropouts Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak met at Jobs' garage in Palo Alto, California to create the first Apple product, the Apple One. Welcome to Apple Podcast. All I do over here is put videos about Apple answering your questions. When Steve Jobs was 17 years old, he dropped out of college at the end of just first semester. Steve Jobs couldn't see the value in it, and he had no idea what he wanted to do with his life. And he also had no idea how college was going to help him figure it out. He took various courses for a year and a half to find out what he would like to study. In 1974, he joined Atari as a video game programmer. That is where he met Wozniak. Steve Jobs came to India for 8 months to practice Buddhism. After coming back, he designed a circuit board for the breakout game for Atari. At that time, Altair 8800 came into the market. It was a computer that had to be assembled by the customers, but nothing could be done with it, which was until Bill Gates and Paul Allen wrote the basic programming language. Jobs saw this as an opportunity to make money. He turned to Wozniak, who had the knowledge to make a computer. They needed money to make this dream come true. So Jobs sold his Volkswagen and Wozniak sold his HP computer. Through this, they launched the Apple company with a partnership of Ronald Wayne. In this way, the three were able to create the Apple computer that they sold for a year without a monitor, keyboard, or a case. These accessories have been included since 1977. Later, Steve Jobs found a way to sell computers. They had a partnership with ByteShop to sell 50 Apple One computers for around $666. But unfortunately, they three didn't have enough money to fill the order. Hence, they contacted a component supplier to give them a credit for 30 days and will return the money after the order is delivered. Jobs and Wozniak took 45% of the profit each, and Wayne got around 10%, which he then sold for around $800 immediately after the company was found. Ronald Wayne designed Apple's first logo, and he was also the one who wrote the operation manual for Apple One. 1 year later, Apple received its first investment, that was $92,000. Then was the Apple II release with its own monitor, open architecture, and a colorful graphics. Apple II was very successful, so they started designing the Apple III, which was then launched in 1980 in collaboration with IBM. As day passed, Steve Jobs became increasingly convinced that the future belonged to computer friendly graphical user interface. Hence, in 1983, he launched the Apple Lisa, which was a first personal computer with graphical interface. Subsequently, its commercialization proved to be a failure due to its high price and the limited number of applications. Steve Wozniak also left Apple in 1983. That is when Jobs put John Sculley, the president of PepsiCo, as the CEO, hoping to grow the company. In 1984, Apple launched Macintosh 128K, which was a very much successful model. But then it dropped dramatically due to the high price, low speed, and software limitations. Due to a conflict between Steve Jobs and John Sculley, Steve had to leave the company in 1985 and he founded Next with some of his employees. Jobs launched the Next Step operating system, which was then bought by Apple for $430 million. At that time, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy when Steve Jobs returned to lead the company as CEO in 1997. Since then, the company started developing many new products, and in 1998, they launched the iMac, which was sold over 800,000 units in the first 5 months alone. In 2001, the first Apple stores were opened in Virginia and California. Then was macOS X released, iPod was introduced on the market, and in 2003, they launched the first digital platform to sell music, iTunes, which was then becoming the market leader. In 2007, Apple made a revolutionary product and its most profitable launch in history, that is the iPhone. Apple's first touchscreen device was the iPhone. Given the success of the iPhone, in 2010, Apple released the iPad, which was the first tablet that could replace a computer. Unfortunately, Steve Jobs was diagnosed with a pancreatic cancer in 2003, and later in 2011, he died. Apple was then taken over by Tim Cook, who had already held executive positions since 2009 in Apple. Even though everyone thought that end of Steve Jobs meant the end of Apple, Tim Cook proved that totally wrong and he brought many new revolutionary products to the market. In 2011, he launched Siri, the virtual assistant, and in 2015, he launched the Apple Watch. The net worth of Apple lately recorded on February 16, 2023 is around $2,457.62 billion. Now that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.